Welcome to this second preview of the OQL Low Brow MIMIR Tier 1 final. Today I'm talking to Dave Gregson about his journey to the final, his background, his highs, lows, and his expectations of the big match itself. In the other videos in this series, we'll also be talking to Lewis Jones and Alan Morgan, and we'll also be previewing the game and looking at some of the statistics. But now, Dave Gregson. I'm delighted to welcome Dave Gregson to All Things Quiz. Welcome, Dave, and congratulations on getting to the final of the Tier 1 OQL Low Brow MIMIR.
Thanks very much.
For people who don't know you, could you give us a brief introduction of kind of your quiz background and your pedigree?
Yeah, sure. So I've been doing quizzing for about 5 or 6 years now, I think. I started off, well, bizarrely, I won't go into my life story, but I was going through a separation at the time, and I decided for some reason to apply for Mastermind. Never done any.
As you do.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Yeah, I didn't have money to buy a car or anything like that. I fancied a car, so yeah, I went on Mastermind. I did my what I wanted was not to come last in the heat, and I met a chap called Will Howells, and he's done loads of TV quizzes, and he just mentioned the QLL, and I ummed for a bit, and I ended up sort of going along to a summer league game, and I got picked up by a team, and then obviously there's been a fantastic expansion in online quizzing since over the last year or so. So Wiki Quiz is great, OQL, and yeah, I mean, I'm just really quite delighted that John and co have brought MIMIR quizzing to like the whole of the quiz crowd, really, because QLL is just obviously, as you know, it's the opportunity you get is like once a year to try and qualify for Brain of London. It's quite tough. So yeah, MIMIR is a format that I've just really enjoyed, actually, and obviously just having it as in what is pretty much my main sort of quiz subject area has been good.
Yeah, so it's interesting you kind of touch on that, because I remember, I think when I first came across you, was I think perhaps the music quiz at like the British Quiz Championship.
Oh yeah, I hung around for that one. Yeah.
And you did really well. So it's kind of, oh, hello, taking notice.
Yeah.
But so lowbrow is your patch, is it?
Yeah, it is really. I mean, obviously in a lot of quiz formats, you've got to be a bit of an all-rounder, but so I'm not too bad at a bit of history, a bit of humanities sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, primarily I'm sort of sort of pop culture, pop music, TV and sport, that kind of thing is mostly my thing, really. Yeah.
Going into the tournament, what were your realistic ambitions? Where did you think this might take you?
I don't really know. I mean, I was quite surprised to see John pick me out as a potential dark horse during the first. It was quite nice to be seeded, obviously, and there were some formidable names in that draw. So I didn't really know. I just wanted to enjoy it and see where the question sets took me, really.
So into the competition, were there any particular games that you kind of stand out in the memory as being particularly important in kind of giving you confidence, or were particularly tough or tricky?
I mean, the first week was a pretty close game. Scott Dalglish in that game, he gave me he was really good that game, and it went really quite close to the end. That gave me confidence that I've done a bit of MIMIR before. I really like it tactically. I thought, okay, this is pretty good. And then the following week, I got brought back down to earth a bit, because the way that this quiz format works is that if there is a quad in there that one of the four of you really knows really well and the rest don't, that's quite hard. I mean, obviously Rob Jones is a really good quizzer anyway, but he won that match, and that was a really tough game. And then the following week, had a really good match and ended up having to do a tie break with James Horton, who's a really good quizzer. And so that's quite, those 2 weeks were quite tough going. Comparatively, talk about quizzing,
but then it didn't get any easier, did it? Because as soon as you get to week 3, and then you kind of sifted into different kind of groupings.
That's right. That's
the
right.
Competitive level just goes through the roof.
That's right. And then obviously from then on, I was sifted into like the upper quartile, and I had a really fun, really surprisingly good match with, surprisingly for me, in that I did really well in my own questions with Tom Speller and Mick Levine and Jack Lewis, who's my teammate, Lockdown Latecomers, and that was a really good match. And I think, the way this goes, you might get a set of questions that are just a dream for you, and it was the case that night. And so I thought, okay, well, if I get the edge of the luck as I go, why can't I go pretty far?
Were there any questions that you plucked out of nowhere that stay in your memory, or any misses that you're still losing sleep over?
I'm not losing sleep over them, but I was pretty annoyed to miss out on the answer in the match with Rob Jones one. It was the answer was the film 12 Years a Slave. I think I said 10 Years a Slave. Actually, I'm not even sure whether it is 10 or whether it is 12.
Yeah,
that was quite annoying. But in terms of like bonuses I've gone for, actually, I feel quite lucky in a way, really, that I've by and large, when I've gone for something, it's been right. So it's quite lucky, really. In one of the later games, there was I think, remember, Gareth, there was it was on 70s acts that had got a couple of number ones.
Oh yeah, name the other one. Yeah,
name the other one. And so I managed to pluck out Get Down by Gilbert O'Sullivan from somewhere. I was, quite weirdly, it had come up on my Spotify page. So I've got a very eclectic sort of pop music taste. So that was a bit of a strange one.
Yeah, I managed to pick that one up just solely on the basis that it was number 1 the day I was born. So otherwise, my knowledge of Gilbert O'Sullivan is pretty poor. But that one just fell in my lap.
Yeah, as soon as they get Brian and Michael's Matchstalk Men and Matchstalk Cats and Dogs in a quiz, I'll be able to say that myself.
You'll be quizzing. What would you say your strengths are in respect of the Low Brow MIMIR and the topics?
Yeah, topics. I think I'm a pretty good sport quizzer. Did pretty well in the. I've done pretty well in GPs over the last few years. I'm a bit of a pop nerd. So although saying that, I was very much into pop, and from a very young age. So talking about sort of early 80s into 90s, and soaked up quite a lot of that. I was an avid Top of the Pops watcher and all Smash Hits reader and all that. But my like quite a few of us, my pop knowledge sort of stops around, I don't know, 2005-ish, I think. It starts getting really, really shady, really patchy after that. But yeah, I think I'm pretty good. I think I'm pretty good pop quizzer. That's and then also just TV. Watched a load of TV growing up. So TV was always on in the house. So
yeah, well, you got 100% on pre-2000s TV, so you absolutely nailed that every time it came up.
Okay.
So that's definitely a long suit.
When it comes to like sort of obscure sitcoms, sort of pre-Watershed sitcoms from the 80s, it's sort of thing that I tend to remember.
Yeah. But what would you say on the flip side is the subject that you kind of dread coming up?
Well, the Kardashians are out of the way, so that's good. I'm hoping that very recent pop doesn't come up again in the final.
Well, I think you might be unlucky about that, because I think that the distribution of music questions means there's always going to be something recent and something kind of mid, and then something a bit more distant. But
yeah, so a bit of revision, I think, in the next couple of days, maybe.
Indeed. So, which brings us to the final, and
yeah,
you know, you're against Alan, who you're on a team with, and
yeah, I know him very well. Yeah,
and Lewis and Ian Toms. What do you make of the competition you're up against, and how do you think your chances are in the competition?
Well, I mean, Alan. Well, I've got through quarterfinals and semi-finals, so some really strong opposition in there. So I just, you know, I think I've got a good chance. I mean, Ian Toms, obviously, you know, goes without saying, he's just a giant of all kinds of quizzing. So he's, you know, who naturally, will, no disrespect to Lewis and Alan, you know, he's naturally someone that you think that is, you know, he's gonna be up there.
But other than that, I mean, you got the same score as Lewis in your semi-final, so that was an incredibly tight match.
Yeah. If there's going to be, so I don't know. I haven't really quizzed with Lewis. I don't really know that well his area of strength. But you know, if it comes to with Alan, if it comes to obscure cinema, I mean, he's going to be all over it. He's going to be all over it on that. And I think as the format goes, it's it can come down to a quad that you know a bit more than others. And whether or not people are going to stick their neck out and go for a bonus, you know. So
yeah, with 15 quads, there's a lot of luck that's involved.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And you know, and the tactics of when to go for bonuses and when not to. But the fact that you're in the final out of 100 and God knows how many people who entered the competition, that's an achievement in itself.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm absolutely thrilled to make it to the final. Never thought I would do. That's a bit of a cliche, but I never thought I would do. But it's just sort of, yeah, it's great. I'm just gonna try and enjoy it, and you know, not overthink it. Overthink, you know how it goes, Gareth, and not overthink questions. And I think generally I quiz best if I'm quite instinctive in what I you know, the way I approach questions and that. So
well, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us as part of this preview. Wish you the best of luck. I think, you know, whatever happens, win, lose, I think all that any quizzer can wish another quizzer is that you do yourself justice and you get what you should have got. And then
that's what I want to do. Yeah, I just don't want to make any silly mistakes, really. So and, obviously best of luck to the other three guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, and yeah, thanks for coming on, and we'll see you again soon.
Cheers, Gareth. Take care.
Cheers. Bye.
Yeah, bye.